I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is how to meet women. That's right. I'm going to walk you through your options. There are only 4 ways to meet women in today's day and age. They also happen to be the only 4 ways to meet men. It's not like there are different ways of meeting women than there are for meeting men. However, men and women encounter radically different challenges and opportunities in these 4 spaces. So while the general pathways are the same, the strategies and tactics involved are going to be very different, to say the least. So today, I'll be approaching this framework from the male perspective. Let's get to it. As I said, there are only 4 ways to meet women today. They are dating apps, cold approach, social circle, and social media. That's it. And I'm going to be talking about them in that order because I've ranked them from the easiest, fastest, and least successful pathway to the hardest, slowest, most successful pathway. This is to be expected. A pathway that is easy and fast and has a high rate of success would break the sexual marketplace. Like most things in life, there aren't any real shortcuts to success. You have to be willing to put in the time and you have to be willing to put in the effort. But let's be clear, these 4 pathways are not mutually exclusive. The best case scenario is that men are doing, or at least that men are perfectly capable of doing, all 4 of them at once. Of the main reasons that men are suffering in today's sexual marketplace, the primary one is that they are overly relying on one strategy to the exclusion of the other 3, namely dating apps. Dating apps are seductive because, rationally, they make a lot of sense. They are also convenient, inexpensive, low risk, and largely passive. The best thing about them is that you can literally get started for free in 20 minutes. And with the correct system, you can have a consistent pipeline of women in a couple of weeks. The issue, of course, is that the success rate on apps is very low, at least if you're an average guy. On the other hand, if you are a man who is an 8 or above in terms of pure physical attractiveness, especially with respect to your face, like good cheekbones, facial symmetry, nice hair, pretty eyes, you can absolutely clean up on the apps. It doesn't matter if they're broke or living with their parents or addicted to heroin. For such men, dating apps become a nonstop funnel of new enthusiastic women. However, this is not going to be the experience of the vast majority of men. In fact, I would argue that you really need to be at least a 6 in terms of pure physical attractiveness to see any appreciable success on the apps. Furthermore, lots of men are automatically discounted by women's filters. My brothers, if you are under 5'7", or you are older than 50, you are going to have a very hard time on the apps. The algorithm will just not show your profile to most women, though it will continue to show those women's profiles to you, giving you a false sense of hope. Now, women will absolutely date older men, and women will absolutely date shorter men. However, when they're sitting in the privacy of their own homes and imagining their ideal man, and the app encourages them to think that they're in a seller's market, their standards increasingly start to deviate from reality. In any case, dating apps don't have a high success rate because most men are not attractive enough to beat out their intrasexual competition, and because they don't have a system for engaging the technology correctly. Average guys who are just randomly swiping are much more likely to end up feeling frustrated, demoralized, and hopeless than they are finding a woman to date. So let's move on to the second pathway, which is cold approach. Cold approach, picking up women that you do not know in the real world, is a very useful skill, very useful. Like knowing how to hunt or to defend yourself, the ability to create a sexual connection with women as you move through the world gives men like a +10 boost to their overall confidence, which in turn makes it more likely for them to succeed in the future. Cold approach also has two definite pluses. First, you know what the woman looks like, and you know that you are attracted to her. I lost count of the number of women I met from dating apps who either were not using recent representative pictures of themselves and or for whom I failed to feel even the slightest sexual interest on the date. In cold approach, this isn't an issue as you're likely sufficiently attracted to the woman to functionally intrude into her life. And second, you have direct access to the woman right here, right now. She might not be on the apps. She might not ever enter into your social circles. And she might receive hundreds of DMs every day on social media. But because you are with her in the same place and at the same time in the real world, you have been afforded an unobstructed view to shoot your shot. Of course, there are several liabilities to cold approach as well. First, you will likely have no idea whether any particular woman is currently in the market for a sexual relationship. Second, women are going to be the most cautious and defended in this approach, as you will have to contend with stranger danger. Third, success depends on snap judgments based on your current presentation, as there won't be an overarching context that can provide more and better information on your behalf. And fourth, it can be really scary to approach women out of the blue. Men generally need some kind of system and accountability structure to overcome their approach anxiety. And they will likely need to do at least a few hundred approaches before they begin to feel remotely confident in this strategy. Combine this with the fact that even the best pickup artists in the world still have success ratios that read like baseball batting averages. That is, they still strike out more often than they get a hit. And men usually need to approach scores of women for a cold approach to make sense as a dating strategy. This creates the fifth liability, which is grinding through approaches can feel like a soulless hustle. As a result, most men, when they do approach women, only approach once in a while. And this means A, they don't get enough repetitions to really get good at it, and B, they really draw out the timeline for success. Like, given how few men approach women anymore, 10 approaches a year would probably be considered above average. Imagine if you only swiped on 10 profiles in a year on a dating app. Like, good luck getting any kind of relationship that way. That said, if men actually apply themselves to pickup, they can get pretty good at approaching women in a couple of months. So this is the second fastest pathway to a woman. If you're interested in taking your understanding to the next level, I would encourage you to check out the Captain's Quarters, my members-only self-improvement community. Your monthly membership will get you access to a cadre of like-minded, supportive individuals, bi-monthly group consultation sessions hosted by yours truly, and exclusive content that you won't find anywhere else. Click the link in the description for more information. Hope to see you aboard. The third pathway is social circle. This is the way that people used to meet. They had the same friend group in college, or they attended the same local church, or they even worked together. Basically, in social circle game, you date your friends, colleagues, and coworkers. And there are a number of pros to this approach. Most notably, it's the safest bet when it comes to long-term relationships because you can vet women slowly and over time. This could occur over multiple group outings with friends or in the context of an escalating office flirtation. Compared with the other approaches, you're much more likely to know what you're getting into, and because you have more time to build a connection with a person before you start dating, it means that if you do start, you're probably more likely to stay together. So what's the problem? Well, it turns out there are several. First, it can take a long time. Like, it takes at least 6 months to make a new friend or to feel a sense of belonging in a new place. And only if you dedicate the time and effort to forge the new connection. Second, your optionality will be severely restricted. Like, if you want to only date within your church, there might be only a handful of eligible candidates, and you might not like any of them. And third, the risks of rejection are also actually much higher here than in other approaches. Whereas dating apps make the vast majority of rejection unseen and unfelt, and an awkward approach can leave a bad taste in your mouth for a few minutes, rejection where one works or prays or studies can be brutal. If the other person doesn't feel the same way, you may irrevocably alter the relational dynamic, both proactively moving forward and retroactively in that person's memory. People will likely gossip about it because that's what people do, and other people might begin to treat you differently as well. Furthermore, because this approach takes time, you may have been focused on one person for months or years who might have disabused you of any hope in a matter of minutes in another context. And through this all, you will likely have to keep showing up to work or church or school. All this is to say that you should be fairly confident that the other person reciprocates your feelings before you pull the trigger in your social circles. Also, relying on your social circle to meet women, if you're not one of the higher status men in the group, it's probably not going to work. Status is very contextual. You can be the top dog in one group and the low man on the totem pole in another. In general, social circle game works if you can be a contextual alpha, which basically means that the other men in the group, formally or informally, look up to you as its leader. As we all know, women don't want no scrub. A scrub is a man who can get no love from them. So if you're not one of the higher status men, it might be more effective to look for a different scene, or even better, build a new scene around yourself. And there are systems for doing just that. And last but not least, we come to the fourth pathway, social media. This approach is far and away the absolute best way to meet women at the present moment. However, of the four, it can take the longest to generate results. So, better get started. There are several reasons why meeting women on social media is amazing. First and foremost, this is where the most attractive women are. They're not on the apps, they're not at your local dive bar, and they're probably not in your little social circle. The most beautiful and desirable women in the world are on social media. If you want to catch a certain type of fish, you have to go where they swim. There really is no way around this one. Second, once this starts to work, you don't have to approach women anymore. Women will approach you. Or if you do choose to initiate, they are much, much more likely to be receptive to your advances. This is because, contrary to popular belief, the most reinforcing resource to a woman is not money or power or visible abs. It's attention. Attention. More than anything else, the ability to command attention makes men irresistible to women. Among other reasons, this is because it can actually be fairly difficult for women to recognize things like money, status, and power. And this isn't only due to the fact that men habitually put false signals out into the sexual marketplace. Think about it. Would you be able to recognize a European noble if he sat next to you on an airplane in plain clothes? Or how about the CFO of a major bank? Or the general manager of a sports franchise? Or a 2-star general? Probably not. I know I couldn't. And this means that women could literally be sitting next to royalty or billionaires and not know it. However, this is not true if you're famous. When millions of people know your face, then you become recognizable to women in a way that many people with more wealth or more status or more power aren't. What's more, fame, with the halo effect it produces, can make men who are otherwise not very physically attractive much more desirable. Like, I guarantee that a decent-looking but famous man has better optionality than a very attractive man on the apps. Fame is a force multiplier for men in the game of mating and dating. And the good news is that while it's obviously difficult to get famous, it has never been easier in the history of the world to do so, thanks to social media. Whereas before, you would have to go through casting directors and producers and power brokers of every kind, and anyone who wanted to get in touch with you would have to pass through some form of gatekeeping. You can now just hit record on the magic rectangle in your pocket, and anyone who wants to reach you can contact you instantly and directly. What a world. Unfortunately, there are two big drawbacks to this approach. First, the vast majority of social media channels don't go anywhere. And those that do require years of effort and consistent dedication. For instance, only 0.6% of YouTube channels have over 100,000 subscribers. However, given the fact that there are 51 million YouTube channels, this means that there are roughly 300,000 successful creators on that platform. So it's rare, but it's not impossible. And second, it is far more difficult for men to succeed on social media than it is for women. Like, I doubt I could put on a skimpy outfit and just jiggle at the camera for 10 seconds and get 1 million views. As I discuss in my book, men expand their reputations by being visibly competent. And that competence can take years to develop before the very first video is even uploaded. However, if and when the strategy works, famous men enter into a world of dating of which the average man, for his own protection, is only dimly aware. So those are the 4 pathways, gentlemen: dating apps, cold approach, social circle, and social media. And like most things in life, the rate of success is kind of organically calibrated to the amount of time and effort involved. The fast and easy options have low rates of success, while the success rates of the slower and more effortful options are much higher. There's plenty more that I could say on the subject, but this is already a long episode as it is, so I'll leave it here for now. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its message. I know you're thinking about someone right now who needs to hear this, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You want more content? Great. Anyone looking to join my free weekly newsletter, in which I put out original content every week, or book a one-on-one paid consultation, can do so on my website. There's also my book, The Value of Others. It's all about relationships, available in ebook, audiobook, paperback formats, and my member community, The Captain's Quarters, where I do bi-monthly group consultations live and have Q&As with invited guests. Links to everything are in the description below. Check it out. A lot of value there. As always, I appreciate your support, and thank you for listening.